Hey, welcome to Baseball Biz. It's Nick Murawski. We're talking all things baseball.
Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Nick, hey, Nick, it's good to see you. But, dude, I know you're on all these different podcasts right now, and it's confusing to me. So, wow, well, at least let me keep Baseball Biz, all right?
I'm so used to hosting, Mark. It just was natural. My apologies.
Well, man, I tell you what, I'm excited for that. Well, it's been great having you here in the past. You've done a great job covering the White Sox. I know with Good Gas Talk Back, listen to that all the time. And now, not only do I get to hear you at least once a week with that, I can now hear you 5 other days a week. I mean, this is huge. So tell all the boys and girls what Nick Murawski's doing these days.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Mark. Yeah, so I absolutely love Good Guys Talk Back, and that's continuing with my dear friend Pat Hester. We've been friends for over 20 years, and both lifelong, multi-generational Sox fans. So we get to continue that once a week. But was asked maybe about a month ago, 3 weeks ago, if I'd be interested in taking over Locked On White Sox, which is a daily Monday through Friday podcast, part of the Locked On Network, and a big commitment. But, you know, it's been a dream of mine to talk White Sox on a daily basis. And how about this upcoming season?
Oh, brother.
So tough to pass up. So, yeah, you can find Locked On White Sox everywhere you find podcasts. It's free and available. And we're on Twitter at Locked On Sox.
And I love it, folks. If you haven't listened to him yet, you need to. And the Locked On Sox, what the nice thing about it too is it comes in nice little bites. It's about 30-minute bites. So if you're rushing to lunch or something, you can listen, Nick, and catch up what's going on with the Sox. So kudos to you on starting off with that, buddy.
Appreciate it. Yeah, it's a nice 25 to 30 minutes, broken up usually in about 3 segments. And, you know, I consume so much White Sox. I'm a season ticket holder. If I'm not at the game, I'm watching the game or listening. So, you know, it's great to talk daily Sox because, you know, there's so much changes on a day-to-day basis in the baseball world when you're playing 162 games. So I think this is just this is a great platform for that.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm glad you're there because there is so much happening, man. I mean, when it comes to the White Sox right now, I'm scratching my head because, well, there's a lot of good news looking at what you guys did last year alone. I mean, you guys cooked it in AL Central. Everybody else kind of just had to try to catch up.
Yeah. You know, I mean, we won the division by 13 games. It was pretty easy for the Sox. I was taking a look a little bit at the 2021 numbers, and we were up a game and a half in the division in early summer. And then, you know, we kind of put the foot on the gas and never let it get back to that number. And by September, we were 10 games up. And, you know, we started to get some of our guys back. We had a lot of injuries last year offensively, and our pitching carried us and kept us above water. But that AL Central, you know, it was a weak division outside of us. Now that's not the case. You know, I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about this division in 2022, but yeah, last year was a magical year. It did not end the way we wanted though. That's for sure.
No, but well, we won't get into particulars because I'm looking forward to seeing you guys go further this year. But I know looking beneath you guys in AL Central last year, nobody actually hit 500. Guardians, I think, were 494, and you go all the way down to the basement with the Twins, and they were 451 with only 73 wins and 89 losses. And that had to hurt a lot. And we'll talk about some things, like you said in a minute, about what the Twins and some of the other ones are trying to do to compare themselves. If you know, when I heard it was Locked On Sox or Locked On White Sox rather. And I was like, I thought maybe it should be Locked Up Sox because nobody else is getting in there.
That's a good point. You know, it's going to be a challenge though this year. And, you know, if you talk to a lot of Sox fans over the offseason, you know, we're all scratching our heads and what happened in the ALDS against the Houston Astros. And some theories are out there that, well, maybe we coasted into the playoffs and we didn't really have anybody pushing us. And perhaps this year it's going to be a little bit more competitive and we won't have to rest guys. I don't know. It's a theory. I think it's going to be a tighter division race, but I don't see anybody, you know, toppling the Sox just yet.
No. I think you guys are going to, you know, roll right through with this again. And if we look at what's happening, this is actually the last day, maybe yesterday should have been the last day of spring training, but I know that the Rays were, I believe, playing the Phillies today, and they had one game, And there was another game I think the Orioles were supposed to be playing, and that game got canceled. But you guys are coming right up. I was looking actually forward to with the big picture. I was looking at the Yankees and the Red Sox, and there's 2 or 3 games already been canceled for opening day, and they're one of them. Now you guys are actually on Friday? You're
Friday in Detroit. It's a 12 p.m. game Central Standard Time, but the weather's looking a little dicey in Detroit, which it is in most Midwest cities in April and May, especially when you're playing outdoors. So that first series will be in Detroit, and then we come home for the home opener next Tuesday.
And that's with the Mariners, right?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah, but it's nice though seeing at the very beginning everybody who is playing together with the AL Central, because while you guys are doing that, let's see, the Twins and Mariners, I guess they were supposed to be playing, I guess, before you guys together. And I think that game's already been postponed. Jeez, my knees, dude.
Yeah. The Sox have 13 of their first 21 games are against the AL Central, which is there's only 2 months in the whole season where the Sox will play the rest of the AL Central. And so that means there's a lot of Midwest games in April. So you never know what you're going to get. I have sat through a few April games where there has been flurries. So, you can get some temps in the 30s. Those evening games in April are brutal. Rain, snow, you definitely, you need to bring a blanket to games. You need a poncho, whatever you can fit in a backpack.
Well, it's exciting times. I know you're looking forward to going to that home opening game as well. So, kudos again to your show, but enjoy that. In a moment, I want to touch base with you on your other Locked On folks, because I know you had a little AL Central roundtable. We can talk about that in a minute. But we're looking at your team and looking at the injury report, looking at trade reports, and there's nothing really unique as far as what's happening with any team. There's injuries. There's people being traded. I looked and saw Andrew Vaughn. I thought, oh my gosh, he took a diving catch and had that hip injury. And I was like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? Then the next thing I know, you guys are doing a trade.
Yeah. Craig Kimbrel was a guy that, when the trade happened at the end of last season, we were definitely going all in for the World Series. And we have our closer. Liam Hendriks was not going to get bumped out of the 9th inning spot. And Craig Kimbrel is going to be in the Hall of Fame one day as a closer. He likes that 9th inning spot, and he just couldn't figure out, the 7th or 8th inning for whatever reason. It didn't work out, and we were pretty disappointed as fans. Our general manager, Rick Hahn, is really closed-lipped with decisions. He's got a lawyer background, and he's very careful with his words. But in the press conference after the ALDS, he said, look, Kimbrel, we took a chance. It didn't work out in the role that we wanted him for. And basically, just to paraphrase, he said, maybe it's going to happen for another team, and we might have to think about a trade. Ooh. I mean, that was pretty transparent. So we as fans had a feeling it's about time that, he's going to be gone. We picked up his $16 million contract. And it was just a matter of finding a partner, and the Dodgers needed a closer. The Dodgers and White Sox share the same facility, so maybe they became very familiar with each other's organizations. And we desperately, desperately needed a natural outfielder because, as you mentioned, Andrew Vaughn is a natural first baseman. And to say to him, he's an athlete, we put him in left field last year. He might even be able to play a little second base, and first base, of course, is his natural position, but he doesn't belong out in right field. We need his bat in the lineup. So when that hip injury went down, I think that woke up the organization, and it forced the hand and to bring AJ Pollock now on the team, who isn't a natural right fielder. He's played a lot of center field and left field, but I'll take AJ Pollock as my right fielder over Andrew Vaughn right now.
Yeah, with what he brings to the bat, I mean, it's huge. So I'm glad you guys got him. But that action was actually taken after Vaughn was injured, right? That wasn't something that was already in works. So
correct, yeah.
Well, they moved quickly on it. I mean, it was an even trade. I mean, there weren't dollars or draft picks or anything that went along with that.
Yeah, and you know what? If Kimbrel bounces back, which if they put him in the 9th inning, he might. Maybe it's just a between the ears type of situation. I think it's going to work out for both clubs. Dodgers get a pretty great closer, and to add to their robust pitching staff, and we get some offensive power and a guy that can start in right field for us, and we don't have to worry about playing kind of musical chairs out there, so to speak.
Yeah, but I know as far as having a closer, like I said, you've already got Liam. He's been fantastic, and you're looking at Kimbrel possibly doing the 7th, 8th inning, some things like that, and it didn't work out. But looking at the rest of the pitching, I mean, the one thing, it broke my heart, dude. I got to say this, Lance Lynn. And you see him walking off the field, you know, you can see he's a little bit of pain the other day. And it's like, oh my gosh, please no. Because wasn't he going to be your opener?
It was a toss-up between Giolito and Lynn. La Russa had not made a decision yet. I think the fan base, if you were to take a quick poll, I think Giolito would have won that vote. But I could have seen it gone either way. Lance Lynn is a guy that we were really excited to get last year. We got an extension for him. He's a horse. He logs innings, and he had a right knee issue, inflammation last season that put him on the IL for a little bit. And it seemed like, he got himself right in the off season. But, when folks came back to spring training and the lockout ended, and there was a lot of chatter amongst our club of like who put on muscle, who lost some weight. Reporters asked Lance Lynn, who's 6'5", 270, what his conditioning practices are. And he kind of just laughed and looked at them like, what conditioning? I don't have to run. I don't have to do anything. And I think he did that in a joking manner, but I am a little concerned, like if he was working on anything, because now it's the same right knee that there's a slight tear in, and that's his push-off leg. And he had a procedure done this week. So you're looking at 4 weeks to get back on the hill, and then another 4 weeks to build your arm back up. So we might not see Lance Lynn until mid-May. And you're right. It depletes a little bit of a sketchy starting rotation for us. Now we're looking at Giolito and Cease, and everything after that is question marks.
Yeah. So we'll see. I'm sure you guys will tighten it up, and the others will step up as well. I mean, and then what Garrett Crochet was that geez. To see all these daggone injuries before the season ever starts. Yeah. It's painful to watch. I know it's painful for them, but I mean, it's painful to watch.
Well, Mark, the Tommy John thing, we as an organization are no stranger to it, nor are other fan bases all over Major League Baseball. Yeah. And Garrett Crochet, he was a draft pick in that shortened season of 2020. He spent really no time in any minor league affiliate. He came up and started helping us right away. And he's a max effort guy. He throws 98, 100. Tweaked his arm when we were playing the A's in the ALDS in 2020, removed from that series. He was all systems go last season, helped out quite a bit. He's a flamethrower out of the bullpen, a lefty flamethrower. I mean, so he pitched 54 innings and in 54 appearances. So that tells you he's just a situational guy that comes in for, a couple batters to get out of a jam. And I don't know. I guess it is, this is the way things go with flamethrowers. It's like, I'd be very cautious to draft a young guy who's throwing 99, 100 miles an hour. It's almost a foregone conclusion that unfortunately they're going to have Tommy John surgery. So Crochet, I think the Sox were hoping they could ease him into maybe the starting rotation next year, 2023. And he shelved obviously all of this year, and a big blow. And that happened, I think, in the same day as the Kimbrel Pollock trade. So a real roller coaster of emotions for the Sox fan base.
Well, I'm sure everybody's trying to gather their wits again, preparing for opening day. But looking at that, also see who do you see then as your full 5-man rotation right now?
Right now, we're going to go Giolito, Cease, Kopech, who was out of the bullpen all of last year, pitched 70 innings out of the bullpen. The plan has always been to transition him into a starter. And now finally we're going to see that. Your fourth is going to be Vince Velasquez, who we kind of took a flyer on from the Phillies. That might change with Ronaldo Lopez, who did a lot of spot starts for us last year. And then our anchor, our fifth starter, is Dallas Keuchel. And Dallas Keuchel from the AL West, and the fan base is not sold on him. We were really disappointed. I mean, he didn't even make the ALDS roster last fall. And he could talk a big game. He can talk all he wants about wanting to have a comeback year, but he did not have a very good spring. And I don't know what we're going to get out of him. So that's a big question mark with our fifth spot.
Wow. Well, looking across, like I said, all the different teams and looking at across AL Central, there have been changes. And we were just kind of mentioning a moment ago, as far as the Twins being in the basement, they've made some changes this year. And what's that going to look like?
The Twins live rent-free in White Sox brains. And we are so scarred from those teams in the 2000s. Ozzie Guillen, he had some very colorful language for the Minnesota Twins under Ron Gardenhire. And they just, they never had superstars. And maybe it was the fear of that Metrodome, but they got the best of us so many years. And we were very fearful of the Twins last year just because we had not been able to, overtake them. And we handled them really well last year. And here they go. They spent a lot of money, made some really interesting decisions. The Correa thing is really interesting to me. I really think he's just there for 1 year. What was it? 3 1-year contracts, I think they signed. And so he's looking to get paid. I'm not too worried about the Twins. They'll be better, I think. I'm not sure on their pitching, but they're going to sell tickets. People are going to show up to see that team. It's really the Detroit Tigers that I think we as Sox fans are worried about.
Yeah, AJ Hinch, he's a good leader. I mean, he was out for a year, obviously, because of the trash cans and such. But he's been building something, or I should say, the front office has, and he's doing something with it. So, of the teams in there, you're saying that Detroit's the one you're probably most concerned about?
Yeah, they've got some young arms, Manning, Mize, a guy, I think first baseman Torkelson, that they're going to be debuting. We've been watching them kind of build their team almost like we as a team did several years ago when we started acquiring talent like Jimenez and Moncada and Cease and Robert. And the Tigers have been doing that. And, they threw money around. They brought in Javi Baez. Right. And then just 2 days ago, a guy you're very familiar with, Meadows, comes over.
Yeah.
And so they have been aggressive. I think they, talking to, the hosts of other AL Central teams for the Locked On Network, the host of Locked On Tigers is very bullish on the Tigers. And I would expect that if you're a diehard fan of your fan base, but they might be a year or so removed. But you got to watch out for them. If they stay healthy, and some of those young arms, they produce quality starts. They produce what the organization wants. Yeah, they're going to be a thorn in our sides throughout the summer.
Well, it's going to be a more interesting division, I think, than in years past. So while you guys, I still see you at the top of it, I think there's going to be contenders who are going to be scrapping as much as they can to get up there.
Yeah, I think, this is the window. This is the championship window for the White Sox. And there's always more to be done. And I think a lot of folks might say, well, you guys are defending champs. You've got a really good team. Just sit back, relax, and enjoy the summer. And I get that. I'm just not wired that way as a diehard fan. I have seen what this organization has been trying to build. And when they tore it down in 2016 and traded Sale away and started the wheels in motion, it wasn't to win a few division titles. It was to win multiple playoff series. It was to be into the ALCS. It was to win a couple pennants, to get some World Series appearances, and ultimately win a championship. So I have high expectations, and I don't think the Sox are done making moves. We'll see how there's still some folks, there's still some trades that could potentially be done. The A's, I don't know what the A's are doing. They're looking to give away talent left and right.
Yeah.
And there's an arm in Montas that maybe we can somehow put a package together for, but the trade deadline will be really interesting, because with the playoff format, there could be a lot of teams that feel like they can make a run at it. So we might have some competition. And our farm system isn't as deep as it used to be. So it's not like we have a bunch of chips. And I hate trading off of an existing roster, but I think I have hope that Rick Hahn and the Sox front office will be continuing to try to get this team better.
I want to come back to Rick Hahn for just 1 second, because you said something earlier about him playing not speaking out, necessarily being transparent, being cautious about what he says. And in some ways I want to say, well, good for you, because there's so many of these guys out there who will say anything. It's like, geez, you say, you should have a PR marketing person between your mouth and the public's ear with some of these folks, but you got a guy who's obviously on top of that. So congratulations.
Well, it's sometimes frustrating though, because, when you're just an avid fanatic, you want your front office, your manager, your GM to feel like, to speak in a passionate way that you feel watching the game. But they, of course, are running a business, and Hahn has been really good and really careful. And so that's why the Kimbrel thing was so telling, is he really stepped out of his comfort zone and almost spoke out of school a bit. And a lot of, eyebrows went up in the White Sox fan base. The guy that sometimes needs the PR help is La Russa. He'll say some things that I don't know if you should have said that, Tony. But I just don't think Tony cares anymore.
He's earned his stripes, man. He could do what he wants.
Yeah.
I know. What was he with Mike Schilt? The whole thing went down with him and the Cardinals. I think a lot of people thought he got a raw deal, and Tony was not afraid to say what he thought about it being, I think, a toxic environment up there in the front office at the Cardinals. Whoa, Tony.
Yeah.
Shooting straight.
Yeah.
Shooting straight.
Yeah. He made a comment, Tony did, a few weeks ago. I mean, it was days before the AJ Pollock Kimbrel deal. And after Vaughn got hurt, he made a comment and said, we've got plenty of options within the organization. True fans, know that if you are looking for the White Sox to make a deal outside the organization, you might not be a true White Sox fan.
Ooh.
And I, sometimes, he plays some games, he's a smart dude too. Tony La Russa, he's a smart guy, but that really set off, the fan base of, Tony, here's Tony La Russa setting rules again on how you should or should not be a fan. So, you got to kind of take his stuff with a grain of salt, I guess.
He adds a little color to the game, and you have to take it with a grain of salt. You are, like I say, you're a diehard. You've been in this game for 20 years, loving the Sox. If somebody just came new to this country, they landed there in the Southside, and they said, "Hey, guy, I want to take you to game. I'm going to take you to opening day." What would you say? What kind of experience would they be introduced to? What would that be like if you can kind of walk me into the stadium?
Well, the ballpark is one of the few ballparks right now where they still have a lot of parking options. And I say that because tailgating, which is traditionally, I think, thought of as maybe a football aspect, whether it's college or professional football, tailgating at a baseball game, there's nothing better. And these stadiums that are being built now right in the inner city with parking garages and expecting folks to do satellite parking and then just walk to the stadium. The Sox are one of the few teams that still have this option. So you'll get there early, if you can drive, you bring a grill, bring some coolers, bring some chairs, bring music, and it's a holiday. It's like a national holiday for an opening day. Now, most weekend games are like that, folks tailgating, enjoying themselves. I think the food options inside the ballpark are, right up in the top 3, top 5 of all of baseball. This team has so much history. They've been around for over 100 years.
Wow.
And you walk around the ballpark, and they've done a really nice job of commemorating that history with murals and signage and trying to recognize all of the different eras that make up the White Sox, and you look out in center field and you see that massive scoreboard, and on top of the scoreboard are the 7 pinwheels that Bill Veeck envisioned years ago, the grand exploding scoreboard that he brought into the game in 1960. And those pinwheels have kind of gone from the old Comiskey Park now to the current field. And, the Sox fan base, we just don't get enough respect in the city of Chicago because it goes to the Chicago Cubs. And things are starting to flip now. And I don't know if Chicago can be a White Sox town. It used to be years ago in the 60s and 70s. And I don't even know if it's that important. But this brand of baseball that they have right now is going to be superior to the Northsiders. And you're going to see a team that's energetic. They're fun. I mean, Tim Anderson, come on. How can you not love Tim Anderson and Jimenez and these personalities on the pitching staff? And we mentioned Hendricks, and you're going to want to stay from the beginning to the end. And of course, after home runs, there are those fireworks that go off. And if you catch a fireworks night, which happened quite a bit during the summertime, it's great, especially after a win. So I don't know if I sold it. I think I did, but there's nothing better than being at that ballpark.
I'm ready to fly up there right now, brother. I'll tell you that much. I'm ready to fly up there because I know, I mean, I've seen the fandom, the folks that are part of your nation, if you will. I understand that enthusiasm. So kudos again to you. Fantastic stuff going on there with the team, with the stadium, and looking forward to see what's going to happen as far as that rotation, injuries. Everybody's going to incur them, and you have to deal with them. You got to start digging into the minor leagues and see if you get somebody to fill some of these. It looks like you guys are already on a good plan. You're moving forward, and I'm real excited about it for you and your Chicago Southside fans there, my friend. So
I appreciate it. And we'll see Tampa early on too. I think it's the second home series. They're giving away a Liam Hendricks bobblehead that Saturday. So I'll definitely be there for that. It's a guy like Luis Robert. If I were to tell somebody that's not really maybe that close to the White Sox team and maybe they want to start following them a little bit, keep your eyes on our center fielder, Luis Robert. He was hurt for a majority of the season last year. He's a 4-to-5 tool player. There's a lot of conversation right now of him being in the MVP category. He won a Gold Glove a couple of years ago. He's got power. He's got speed. And I think he could be the next superstar, especially in the American League. So keep your eyes on Luis Robert for sure.
Great. That's fantastic. I know I've been watching him in the past and listening to you talk about him on your own show as well. Can you remind folks where they can find you again?
Absolutely. So I've got the Good Guys Talk Back podcast. You can find that podcast everywhere. We're on Twitter at Good Guys TB, and the daily podcast is Locked On White Sox, and that's free and available everywhere. And we're on Twitter at Locked On Sox, and you can find me on Twitter at Nick_GGTB.
Well, Nick, as always, it's a pleasure having you here, man, and looking forward to talking with you too as the season progresses.
Sounds great, Mark. I really appreciate you having me on, buddy, and happy opening day. Happy baseball.
All right, brother. Well, thanks again. And I want to thank all of y'all for listening again, once again today to Baseball Biz. And we'll be talking with you all again real soon. Special thanks to XTake RUX for the music rocking forward.